The mind is not a fortress. It's a glass castle under siege. Sooner or later, something has to give. When it shatters, the fragments pierce every facet of your existence, relationships crumble, ambitions fade, and the very sense of self dissolves. But the true tragedy lies not in the breaking, but in the preventable silence that precedes it. Imagine a high-achieving student burning the candle at both ends, juggling a full course load, extracurricular activities, and a part-time job, all while striving for perfect grades and maintaining a vibrant social life. This individual appears to be the epitome of success, yet beneath the surface, the relentless pressure is building, fueled by the illusion that they can control every aspect of their life. They believe they should be able to handle it all, that pushing harder is the key to unlocking their full potential. But what if this conventional wisdom is wrong? What if the very act of pushing through is actually accelerating their descent toward a mental breaking point? Is it possible that trying too hard is the problem? The human mind has a breaking point. Just as overexerting our physical body can lead to injury, pushing our minds beyond their capacity results in serious consequences. We all have a limit, a threshold beyond which our mental resources become depleted, our coping mechanisms falter, and our ability to function effectively diminishes. This breaking point isn't a sign of weakness, but a fundamental aspect of our human condition. Yet, so many of us routinely ignore the early warning signs, dismissing headaches, insomnia, and irritability as just stress, wearing busy as a badge of honor, and relentlessly pushing ourselves toward the edge. A mental breakdown isn't merely a personal setback. Its impact reverberates through every aspect of our lives. Relationships strained by irritability and emotional unavailability begin to crumble. Career prospects diminish as focus and productivity wane. And perhaps most devastatingly, our overall quality of life plummets as joy and fulfillment are replaced by anxiety and despair. The ripple effect extends to those around us: family members, work colleagues, and social circles, all of whom bear witness to our struggles. Moreover, the increasing prevalence of mental health issues in modern society underscores the urgency of understanding this breaking point. Mental health statistics reveal a concerning trend, with anxiety and depression rates soaring in recent decades, reflecting the escalating pressures and expectations of our fast-paced world. But what if understanding the breaking point allows for proactive prevention and building resilience? What if recognizing the warning signs is the first step toward developing effective coping strategies and safeguarding our mental well-being? Even more, what if there is a possibility of growth and transformation after a breakdown? Did you know that there is an overview statistic about mental health recovery that shows many people come back stronger? To navigate this complex terrain, we must first acknowledge that life is inherently challenging. Drawing from the philosophy of Arthur Schopenhauer, we can begin to understand the acceptance of suffering as a foundation for mental resilience. Schopenhauer argued that the will, our insatiable drive for satisfaction, is the root of all suffering. By accepting the inevitability of suffering, we can liberate ourselves from the constant pursuit of happiness and cultivate a more grounded sense of well-being. But where does the suffering come from? In addition to the external pressures we face, internal conflicts can also contribute to mental breakdown. The Jungian concept of the shadow self offers valuable insights into this dynamic. Our shadow encompasses the unconscious, repressed aspects of our personality, the traits and emotions we deem unacceptable or undesirable. Suppressed anger, unacknowledged sadness, and disowned desires can fester in the shadow, manifesting as anxiety, depression, and self-sabotaging behaviors. What role do societal expectations play in this complex interplay? The relentless pressure to conform, achieve, and maintain a perfect image, particularly on social media, contributes significantly to mental strain. Furthermore, unconscious archetypes, such as the perfectionist or the martyr, can drive unhealthy behaviors and contribute to mental breakdown. These unconscious patterns influence our thoughts, actions, and relationships, often without our awareness. Finally, consider both external and internal pressures, and how both can lead to a mental breaking point. External challenges, such as job instability or financial strain, can weigh heavily on our minds. Internal pressures, such as the need to care for everyone around you, can be equally debilitating. How much can one person truly handle before they break? What are your personal breaking points? Are there hidden or unconscious factors that contribute to mental breakdown? What are the hidden dangers of perfectionism, self-sacrifice, or unresolved trauma? Without intervention, will individuals repeat patterns that lead to breakdown? Do we continue in a cycle of stress, denial, breakdown, temporary recovery, and then repeat the pattern? What are the early warning signs of mental breakdown? How can we integrate our shadow self to find balance? And what practical steps can we take to build resilience? Before the shattering, before the complete collapse, the mind whispers warnings, signals that are often too easily dismissed. What are these early warning signs, and why are they so often ignored? The insidious nature of mental breakdown lies in its gradual onset, where symptoms emerge subtly, masked by the demands of daily life and the pressures we place upon ourselves. These early indicators manifest across multiple domains. Physically, chronic fatigue sets in, sleep patterns become erratic, digestive issues arise, and unexplained aches and pains surface. Emotionally, a persistent undercurrent of anxiety simmers, punctuated by bouts of irritability, sadness, or a general sense of unease. Behaviorally, there's a noticeable shift: social withdrawal, difficulty concentrating, loss of interest in previously enjoyable activities, increased reliance on unhealthy coping mechanisms like excessive drinking or overeating, and a decline in overall performance at work or school. However, the most dangerous symptom is the inability to recognize these signs for what they are and the tendency to normalize them. Why does this normalization occur, and what role does it play in the trajectory toward mental breakdown? The normalization trap is sprung by a complex interplay of factors. Societal pressures dictate that we project an image of strength and competence, discouraging vulnerability and the admission of weakness. Personal expectations, often rooted in perfectionistic tendencies, set impossibly high standards, fostering a belief that we should be able to handle everything without complaint. And perhaps most insidiously, a deep-seated fear of appearing inadequate or incompetent silences our inner voice, leading us to dismiss or downplay the warning signs. Consider our high-achieving student. Faced with mounting pressure, they might rationalize their chronic fatigue as simply the result of working hard, their anxiety as normal stress, and their irritability as just being tired. They might fear that acknowledging these struggles would be perceived as a sign of failure, jeopardizing their academic standing or future prospects. This is the normalization trap in action, the insidious process of minimizing and rationalizing away the very symptoms that signal impending crisis. But if we are to move from a cycle of stress and denial to one of resilience and growth, we must understand denial for what it is: a maladaptive coping mechanism that ultimately exacerbates the underlying issues. Denial, in this context, functions as a temporary shield, protecting us from the immediate discomfort of confronting our limitations and vulnerabilities. It allows us to maintain the illusion of control, clinging to the belief that we can manage the unmanageable. However, this shield is fragile, and its protection comes at a steep price. By ignoring the symptoms, we allow the underlying stress to accumulate, fester, and intensify. The pressure builds, slowly eroding our mental resources and weakening our coping mechanisms, until eventually the dam bursts. One common maladaptive behavior is the use of alcohol. For example, an individual experiencing increasing anxiety and stress at work might turn to alcohol as a way to unwind and escape. Initially, this might provide temporary relief, numbing the uncomfortable feelings and allowing them to relax. However, over time, reliance on alcohol can lead to a host of negative consequences, including increased anxiety and depression, impaired cognitive function, and physical health problems. The initial solution becomes part of the problem, further exacerbating the underlying issues and accelerating the descent toward mental breakdown. Let's examine a more detailed example, a case study of someone experiencing burnout, to illuminate the progression of symptoms and the consequences of neglect. Consider an entrepreneur driven by a passion for their business and an unwavering commitment to success. Initially, they work long hours with enthusiasm, fueled by the excitement of building something from the ground up. However, as the business grows, the demands escalate: more responsibilities, more deadlines, more pressure to perform. They begin to sacrifice sleep, skip meals, and neglect their personal relationships, justifying these sacrifices as necessary for the success of their venture. Early warning signs emerge: chronic fatigue, persistent anxiety, difficulty concentrating, and a growing sense of irritability. But instead of acknowledging these signs, they double down, working even harder to maintain control and meet the ever-increasing demands. They tell themselves that they're almost there, that just a little more effort will get them over the hump. They equate long hours with success, ignoring the fact that their productivity is declining, their creativity is stifled, and their relationships are suffering. Eventually, the cumulative stress becomes unbearable, leading to burnout, a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion characterized by cynicism, detachment, and a sense of ineffectiveness. But what barriers prevent us from integrating our shadow selves, and how do these barriers contribute to the breaking point? Integrating the shadow self is a critical step toward psychological wholeness and resilience, yet it is often met with resistance and avoidance. Several barriers impede this process, including fear of confronting negative traits, societal conditioning, and lack of self-awareness. Fear plays a significant role, as we naturally recoil from acknowledging aspects of ourselves that we deem undesirable or unacceptable. Societal conditioning reinforces this fear, teaching us to suppress emotions like anger, sadness, and vulnerability, and to present a polished, idealized version of ourselves to the world. The lack of self-awareness also contributes to the problem. We are often blind to our own shadow, projecting it onto others instead of recognizing it within ourselves. Consider childhood events. A child who grows up in a household where anger is forbidden might learn to repress their own anger, pushing it into the shadow. As an adult, this repressed anger might manifest as passive-aggressive behavior, chronic resentment, or even physical ailments. The individual might be completely unaware of the root cause of their suffering, attributing it to external factors rather than acknowledging the unacknowledged emotion within. What role do archetypes, such as the perfectionist or the martyr, play in driving self-sabotaging behaviors? Certain archetypes, deeply embedded in the collective unconscious, can exert a powerful influence on our behavior, often driving us towards self-sabotaging patterns. The perfectionist, for example, is driven by an insatiable need to achieve flawless results and avoid any hint of failure. This archetype can lead to unrealistic expectations, relentless self-criticism, and a constant sense of inadequacy. The martyr, on the other hand, derives a sense of worth from sacrificing their own needs for the sake of others. They prioritize the well-being of those around them, often to their own detriment, neglecting their own physical, emotional, and mental health. Now, relating the perfectionist archetype to the pressure to achieve flawless results, an individual driven by this archetype might set impossibly high standards for themselves in every area of their life: academics, career, relationships, and even personal appearance. They might spend countless hours striving for perfection, sacrificing sleep, leisure, and social interaction in the process. Any deviation from their ideal is met with harsh self-criticism, leading to feelings of anxiety, depression, and worthlessness. This relentless pursuit of perfection can ultimately lead to burnout, as the individual becomes physically and emotionally exhausted from the constant pressure they place upon themselves. But if we project our own shadow onto others, what are the consequences? Shadow projection occurs when we disown certain qualities or emotions within ourselves and attribute them to others. This often happens unconsciously, as we are typically unaware that we are projecting our own shadow. The consequences of shadow projection can be significant, leading to conflict, misunderstanding, and damaged relationships. For example, someone who secretly struggles with feelings of inadequacy might constantly criticize others for their perceived flaws, projecting their own insecurities onto them. This behavior not only harms the recipient of the criticism, but also reinforces the projector's own negative self-image. Projecting our shadow prevents us from taking responsibility for our own emotions and behaviors, hindering our personal growth and contributing to mental distress. The more we repress aspects of our shadow self, the more power it gains over us, influencing our thoughts, feelings, and actions in ways that we may not even realize. So, what are the psychological costs of repressing aspects of the shadow self, and how do these unacknowledged emotions manifest? The psychological costs of repressing aspects of the shadow self are substantial, manifesting in a variety of ways, including anxiety, depression, psychosomatic symptoms, and self-sabotaging behaviors. When we deny or suppress our emotions, they don't simply disappear. They become trapped within us, festering and growing in intensity. These unacknowledged emotions can then manifest as physical symptoms, such as chronic pain, digestive issues, or fatigue. For instance, someone who consistently suppresses anger might experience chronic muscle tension or headaches. The repressed anger, unable to find a direct outlet, is channeled into physical symptoms, creating a vicious cycle of pain and suffering. Someone who suppresses anger might also experience passive-aggressive behavior, expressing their anger indirectly through sarcasm, procrastination, or subtle acts of sabotage. This behavior can damage relationships and create a sense of conflict and unease, further contributing to mental distress. But do cultural narratives and societal pressures exacerbate mental health issues? The dominant cultural narratives of success and productivity often contribute to mental strain by promoting unrealistic expectations and fostering a sense of inadequacy. The relentless emphasis on achievement, material wealth, and constant self-improvement creates a culture of pressure and competition, where individuals feel compelled to constantly strive for more, regardless of the cost to their mental health. The idea that constant striving is necessary for fulfillment is a pervasive myth that fuels the cycle of stress and burnout. Despite the pervasive idea that this leads to happiness, it is a myth. Is social media worsening this issue? Social media platforms amplify these pressures, creating a virtual world where individuals are constantly bombarded with curated images of perfection. The constant exposure to idealized bodies, lavish lifestyles, and seemingly flawless relationships contributes to feelings of inadequacy, anxiety, and low self-esteem. A study found that individuals who spend more time on social media are more likely to experience symptoms of depression and anxiety, with a correlation coefficient of 35, indicating a moderate positive association. Does economic inequality and instability also contribute to mental health issues? Economic inequality and job insecurity also play a significant role in driving stress and mental health issues. The widening gap between the rich and the poor creates a sense of economic anxiety and instability, particularly for those struggling to make ends meet. Financial strain can exacerbate existing vulnerabilities, making it more difficult to cope with stress and increasing the risk of mental breakdown. For example, children growing up in low-income households are more likely to experience mental health problems due to factors such as food insecurity, inadequate housing, and lack of access to quality health care. The constant flow of negative news, often sensationalized and amplified by media outlets, also takes a toll on our mental well-being. Sensational headlines and fear-mongering tactics employed by media outlets can trigger anxiety, fear, and a sense of helplessness, particularly when individuals feel powerless to change the events unfolding around them. So, if so many sources are outside our control, what can we realistically control, and how can acceptance improve our mental resilience? Common control fallacies, such as overestimating our ability to influence external events, striving for perfect control over our own thoughts and feelings, and personalizing the actions and feelings of others, can contribute to significant stress and anxiety. Overestimating the degree of control we have over external events can lead to frustration and disappointment when things don't go according to plan. The belief that we can and should control our own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors perfectly is a recipe for self-criticism and anxiety. The belief that we are responsible for the actions and feelings of others can lead to feelings of guilt, resentment, and burnout. Inspired by Schopenhauer's philosophy, by accepting the inherent challenges of life, we can liberate ourselves from the constant pursuit of happiness and cultivate a more grounded sense of well-being. A nihilistic approach can allow someone to focus on what is right in front of them rather than stress about what they lack. How can mindfulness and non-attachment help? Mindfulness practices offer a powerful antidote to the illusion of control. By cultivating non-attachment to outcomes and embracing the present moment, we can reduce the need to control external events and internal experiences. Meditation and other mindfulness techniques can help individuals accept uncertainty, manage stress, and cultivate a greater sense of inner peace. Let's try it now. Take a deep breath, close your eyes, focus on your breath. Thoughts will enter your mind and let them drift away like clouds. Focus on the feeling of your chest rising and falling. You are safe. Open your eyes. This short exercise can provide benefits throughout your life, including a reduction of stress. But how can we reframe our perspectives? By teaching viewers how to reframe their perspectives on stressful situations, we can help them to see challenges as opportunities for growth rather than catastrophic events. For example, seeing a job loss as an opportunity to explore new career paths, develop new skills, or start a business can shift the focus from loss and despair to possibility and hope. How do we find true meaning? Viktor Frankl's logotherapy emphasizes the importance of finding meaning in suffering as a pathway to resilience. Identifying a sense of purpose, whether through work, relationships, or personal values, can provide strength and motivation in the face of adversity. As detailed in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl observed that those who had a strong sense of purpose were more likely to survive the horrors of the concentration camps. Discussing post-traumatic growth, individuals can experience positive psychological changes as a result of struggling with difficult circumstances. Increased appreciation for life, strengthened relationships, and a greater sense of purpose are common outcomes of post-traumatic growth. Altruism and service can also play a powerful role in finding meaning and building resilience. Helping others can provide a sense of purpose, reduce feelings of isolation and despair, and foster a sense of connection and community. Writing in a journal can help you develop a personal narrative of resilience. Creating a personal narrative of resilience involves framing challenges as opportunities for growth and self-discovery, emphasizing strengths and positive coping mechanisms, and focusing on the lessons learned from difficult experiences. We've explored the recurring patterns that lead to mental breakdown, the denial of early warning signs, the unintegrated shadow self, and the relentless pressures of modern society. But how do these internal and external factors interplay, and why is it essential to address both for holistic well-being? Furthermore, how can we reframe the breaking point itself? How do we transition to building resilience and preventing future breakdowns? The breaking point can be viewed as an opportunity for growth and self-discovery. By challenging the stigma associated with mental breakdown, we can see it as a turning point, a catalyst for positive change. In the next section, we will delve into practical strategies for building resilience and preventing future breakdowns. We will explore actionable advice and steps that viewers can take to safeguard their mental well-being and cultivate a more fulfilling life. 11. Knowledge culmination, primary revelation. We have explored the early warning signs that are too easily dismissed, the insidious influences of the shadow self, the relentless crush of societal pressures, and the alluring yet ultimately destructive control fallacies. Each element, like a piece of a puzzle, contributes to the agonizing breaking point of the human mind. But what if this breaking point isn't an end, but a beginning? What if the shattering is not destruction, but a necessary disruption, a painful yet powerful catalyst? As Kintsugi teaches, the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with gold, the cracks become not flaws to hide, but seams of beauty, testaments to resilience. Similarly, mental breakdown, while undoubtedly agonizing, can be the crucible in which a more authentic, stronger self is forged. As the saying goes, a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a person perfected without trials. Imagine a cycle where instead of ignoring the whispers of your mind, you become acutely aware of your internal state, accepting your limitations and vulnerabilities without judgment. This awareness fuels action, proactive self-care, healthy boundaries, and a willingness to seek support when needed. This is not about avoiding stress altogether, but about managing it effectively, building resilience, and learning to navigate the inevitable challenges of life with greater wisdom and compassion. This cycle replaces the destructive pattern of denial and breakdown with a virtuous circle of growth and well-being, empowering you to not just survive, but thrive. The shift in perspective is crucial. Vulnerability is not a weakness to be hidden, but a strength to be embraced. In a world that often equates success with stoicism and invulnerability, daring to show your true self, flaws and all, is an act of courage. Consider the growing number of public figures who are openly sharing their struggles with mental health, shattering the stigma and creating a space for others to do the same. They are demonstrating that acknowledging vulnerability is not a sign of failure, but a testament to their humanity and a source of connection and inspiration for others. 12. Significance framework, broader context. Your struggles are not unique. They resonate with the shared human experience of suffering and resilience. Anxiety disorders affect millions worldwide. Depression casts its shadow over countless lives. Knowing you're not alone is a potent reminder that seeking help is a common and acceptable path. This shared vulnerability is the bedrock of genuine connection. When we dare to be open and honest about our struggles, we create a space for others to do the same, fostering a sense of community and mutual support. It's through these connections that we find the strength to navigate the inevitable challenges of life. The courage to be vulnerable challenges societal norms that equate success with constant productivity and material wealth. This outdated definition of success is a recipe for burnout and dissatisfaction. Advocate for a more balanced and meaningful definition. What truly matters is not how much you achieve, but who you become in the process. Have you lived authentically, cultivated meaningful relationships, and contributed something of value to the world? These are the questions that define true success. By recognizing that suffering is an intrinsic part of the human condition, we can liberate ourselves from the relentless pursuit of fleeting happiness and cultivate a deeper, more sustainable sense of well-being. Consider individuals who have transformed their lives after experiencing depression and anxiety. They discovered a newfound appreciation for life, a deeper connection with themselves and others, and a clearer sense of purpose. Their suffering became a catalyst for growth, leading them to a more authentic and fulfilling existence. 13. Resolution architecture, clear resolution. Remember the initial questions we posed. What are your limits, and what causes the mind to break? We now understand that our limits are not fixed, but rather fluid, influenced by a complex interplay of internal and external factors. Mental breakdown is not a sudden event, but the culmination of a gradual process of denial, neglect, and mounting pressure. Now, to prevent future breakdowns, it is crucial to develop a proactive approach to mental well-being. Practice self-awareness by paying attention to your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and learn to recognize the early warning signs of stress and burnout. Integrate your shadow self by acknowledging and accepting your flaws and vulnerabilities. Challenge societal pressures that promote unrealistic expectations and foster a sense of inadequacy. Cultivate acceptance by embracing the present moment and letting go of the need to control everything. Seek support by connecting with others, building strong relationships, and reaching out to mental health professionals when needed. These steps will help you build resilience and create a more fulfilling life. By facing our vulnerabilities and accepting our imperfections, we are able to release the pressure and embrace our true selves. Try a short mindfulness exercise to release some pressure. Focus on your breath. Visualize a peaceful place, a calm beach, a quiet forest. Feel the serenity wash over you, releasing the tension in your body. 14. Expansion framework, future possibility. These answers lead to new questions. How can we create a more mentally healthy society? What role does spirituality play in resilience? How can we better support those struggling with mental health? The implications extend far beyond the individual level. Systemic change is needed in education, healthcare, and workplace culture to prioritize mental well-being and create environments that support resilience. Observe workplaces that are implementing innovative programs to promote mental health, such as mindfulness training, stress management workshops, and employee assistance programs. Share your thoughts, experiences, and insights in the comments section below. Connect with others who are on a similar journey. This is not just a video. It is a community, a space for mutual support and growth. We will continue to delve deeper into specific aspects of mental health in future videos, exploring topics such as shadow work, trauma recovery, and mindfulness practices. Thank you for joining this exploration of the mind's breaking point and the path to resilience.